Does the world punish honesty? It could get a little controversial, and you and I both like a little controversial.
No,
right?
that's me. I like it a lot.
The further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those who speak it. You see, it's simple, it's obvious, and still we forget it. It shows you who's actually pretending, who's performing, and who's hiding. And most people aren't ready for that mirror. So they don't thank you for being honest, they resent you for it.
It's also about a values-based decision. If you're going to bump into something that you cannot live with yourself any longer, if you make this decision, then that's maybe a line in the sand or a line of demarcation that you have to make for yourself. But to your point, what is the hill you're going to die on?
Hey there, and welcome to Mindset Matters, where we explore the thoughts that shape our lives and how to clear the ones that don't. Here's where we step into the practice of MindShui, Feng Shui for the mind. It's not just about positive thinking, it's about purposeful thinking. And the MindShui Way helps you clear the mental clutter, uncover hidden beliefs, and realign with your truth so you can live with clarity, energy, and purpose in all areas of your life. Stephanie, hello.
Hey, hun.
Here we go. Now, as always, I didn't really give you any insights into what we're talking about today. So we're going to contemplate the question, does the world punish honesty? Okay, so you got that? Does the world
Wait a sec. Wait. Does the world punish honesty?
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Okay, now I'm going to read to you what I read, and then I want to kind of riff off of this because I think it's a really cool conversation that could maybe go a little off the rails. Okay. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So this is not my writing. I want to be clear on that. This is somebody else's that I see a lot of truth in it, but I think we need to unpack it a little bit because it could get a little controversial. And you and I both like a little controversial. Okay.
No, that's me. I like it a lot.
You like it a lot. So quit it. Okay. There is a quiet, time-tested truth attributed loosely to George Orwell that says it all. The further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those who speak it. George Orwell said that. Okay, I'm going to say it again. The further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those who speak it. Oof. You see, it's simple, it's obvious, and still we forget it. Basically, the more fake a culture becomes, the more threatening honesty starts to feel. Because the truth isn't just words, it exposes everything. It shows you who's actually pretending, who's performing, and who's hiding. And most people aren't ready for that mirror. So they don't thank you for being honest, they resent you for it. So in this statement, you see there's two kinds of people in the world. The ones who keep it comfortable and the ones who keep it real. But here's the paradox. The ones that keep it real get exiled. The ones that keep it fake, they get the applause. So if the truth made you lose people, maybe you were never safe being honest to begin with. So what's your thoughts? The further a society drifts away from the truth, the more it will hate those who speak it. Okay, that's attributed to Orwell. Mm-hmm. So my observation is that this is kind of like a mirror of the last 5 years. You know, pandemic, politics, culture shift, divisiveness, polarity, wars, identity confusion. I mean, holy crap. So within a MindShui framing, and this is a bigger picture, I'm just going to finish up here in a minute. So our inner environment, you know, a societal inner environment is cluttered. And we know that a cluttered mind reflects a cluttered culture. Now, that culture doesn't have to be a societal culture, but think about that. Inner environment, cluttered minds, cluttered culture. That is very common in business. It's common with teams in a business, so on a smaller scale, within families. So here's the thing. On a bigger picture, if society is fragmented, it makes sense that individuals, they feel scattered, foggy, anxious, and in the context of clarity equals velocity, most are lost in the noise, they're lost in opinions, and they have a fear of speaking up. So that's quite a lot I said, isn't it?
Can I go now?
You can go now. Okay, but let's just clear something up, because
I knew it. There's always more.
I know how you are, though, so I want to be careful. We're not talking conspiracy right off the bat. This is not conspiracy. This is how I'm seeing, and we collectively are seeing the world. It is confusing. It is uncertain. We know we're being gaslit by politicians. We know, whether it's the politics, the banking system, when we look at a global picture, there's a lot of weird shit going on. That's it. It's changed the past 5 years. And I think there's a lot of mental fatigue from just people trying to filter the truth versus the narrative. And so there's a lot of emotional, I think, isolation when you are seeing things that others don't want to acknowledge, or are pretending not to know, or actually don't see.
Right.
And I think that's a lot of anxiety, maybe. It's like we're being told 2 + 2 = 5. That's just the truth.
Right. And that's why people, when they read 1984 by George Orwell, they're starting to see some truths come out, and like, well, I thought that was just a conspiracy book written in, what was it, written in 1938, I think?
No,
And
Orwell?
when you think, 1984 was written.
Yeah, you said 30s or something. No,
Yeah, in the 30s. That's what I said.
Oh, about 1984.
About the book 1984,
Yeah.
written by George Orwell.
Yeah.
And we read it in high school. It was required reading in high school when that's 100 years ago. But it was also during a time in English lit that we were taught critical thinking. And that's what I believe is missing now. And that's why I believe that people, when they are buying into a narrative, and that narrative is being repeated over and over again, whether it's from the mainstream media, the government funded media, those repetition, the lies, and I believe they think they're telling the truth. But when you have a critically thinking mind, it's very important to sit with yourself when you're being told something over and over and over again. And to me, that's the first clue that a lie is being told, is that it has to be repeated. My mom always said the truth doesn't have to be defended. And then she would add, and a lie will make it twice around the world before the truth gets out of bed. So my critical thinking skills is when I'm seeing something or hearing something being repeated over and over again and defended, and you see the other side being silenced or criticized or canceled or doxxed or whatever, to me, a critical mind would go, oh, I think I need to look at the other side of that, because maybe what we're being told is not true. And over the last, not just 5 years, hon, I believe the last 10, 15, 20 years, the decades that we've been really kind of watching the news and Oprah and all these celebrities out there that are, telling us what we're supposed to think and what we're supposed to feel. And some of it's dressed up in, personal growth and spirituality, and others dressed up in science. But I think what's happened is that human beings have been really dumbed down in many ways. And it's much easier just to repeat a narrative that someone's fed you than it is to step back, pause, look at the other side and go, maybe this is wrong, or maybe what I'm hearing, because if what I'm hearing and seeing aren't matching, that's the second clue for critical thinkers, is that you're hearing things over and over again, and then you're seeing the discourse.
Okay. So there's 2 points that I want to unpack of what you just said. First off, there's, critical thinking is required. And I think we're generally trying to be critical thinkers, and I think we do a pretty good job. Our story that we tell ourselves, we do a pretty good job of critical thinking. But something else that you said, and that is, I can't remember your exact wording. I've lost it. But the point of it was this, is that we as human beings, our brain, our body, we need congruence. And it's weird that when we don't get the congruence, it messes with our heads. It's like, am I, well, this, hence, are we in a fucking matrix? Like, what the hell is going on? Like, it's so obvious that it's incongruent. And so it's like we're being, or the government or whoever the leaders are. So mostly government, but it could be central banks. That's another big one to hit on. But it's the bureaucracy at some level seems to, it's like it's rewarding the the masking, it's rewarding the,
Mm.
we'll use
The lies, the
the
wokeness. Yeah.
lies,
Yeah.
that far left, that wokeness, all of those things that are happening. And here's the point of it. And this is what you and I see, we feel it. And then I want to unpack this a little bit different than I think you want to. But I want to say is that there is this chronic, I'm going to call it emotional suppression, where people are feeling burned out. They're feeling anxiety. Depression is off the frickin' charts. Think about it even from your perspective with the athletes that you work with, because there's so much bureaucracy in that world. And there's there is these idealisms, and we have to make sure we're covering all the DEI moments and how we speak and the honoring this, that, and the next thing. And so imagine, the performance stress that a lot of these athletes have to work through and live in, because they don't necessarily align, but they're committed to their athleticism, their competition. So they have to, it's like, okay, if you want to play this game, we've just added another degree of difficulty.
Yeah, that's
Be
right.
out of integrity. So it's like,
Yeah.
That's the thing. So my point of this is that it's not about, we could be full of shit, like all of the, it's not about left or right. It's about, this is what's happening in society. We're not hallucinating. We're not dreaming it. We're seeing the divisiveness. It seems intentional, but that's an aside. Here's the MindShui Way. What's the clutter we need to clear? Because we can see it happening. We can get upset about it. It can piss us off. But if we're not willing to do something about it, it's not our fight. It's not our shit to take on. We have to observe it, let it go live our life. Unless you're willing to kind of stand on that hill. Like you look at a Tamara Lynch as an example. It's pretty familiar, most people, I think, or many people. So there's really the two types of individuals or societal, which is those who keep it comfortable, or those who, let's say, keep it real. I don't know if that's quite right. Comfort is safety.
Yeah, I get that. I think there's the two sides. But I also think that a lot of people that I've talked to in the last little while have too much in their world, too much to lose to, acknowledge what's happening, or they're at a certain demographic where they have to buy into what's going on politically because financially they've set their lives up that way. So they're either being supported by the government, or they're getting contracts, or they're consultants too, etc. So I think there's a lot of people that are having to bump into some of the decisions that they're making and decide which side of the coin they're going to live on. But to your point, what is the hill you're going to die on? And I think for me, right now, to your point about the athletes, is that my job is to MindShui them.
Yes.
Is to make sure that they are choosing the thoughts and they're choosing the focus and the energy management that they need to do in order to achieve their goal. Whether this is someone's last Olympic cycle that's coming up in February 2026, or someone's first, or it's their last, or whatever, it's part of a milestone and a journey where people are going to take a look at their lives, and in my world anyway, and decide, who am I going to be if I'm not an athlete? And have I set myself up, whether it's in business or personally, to live my own truth? And that's where it gets subjective. I'm hearing that a lot right now. Well, it's my truth. It's my truth. It's my truth. Well, actually, whenever I hear that over and over again, what I get to is, no, it's actually your opinion. And it's okay to have that opinion, but the truth is the truth. It's not subjective. I know for me and my body when I'm hearing the truth and when I'm being lied to. And because of that critical thinking skill, and because I've had to train myself through NLP, sports performance psychology, all the neuro-linguistic programming in the sense of how the brain works, and how, we have to actually visualize ourselves many times into and out of situations in a performance sport. But that's also true for us regular folk. The MindShui concept is, what are we going to hang on to? What are we going to let go? Which is kind of stoicism as well, right?
Yes. Well, let's go back to the stoicism part of it. So first off, you said it, and you were speaking about you. So the question becomes, what's true for me? first part of it, right? So then we say, okay, I don't agree. I think that's bullshit. I think that's gaslighting. I think this is misinformation, disinformation, or whatever new words are out there that we're all living under these days.
You're a racist.
I know. No, I'm not, but I could be, I guess, called that. So it's up to us to kind of build that internal framework when we have these external values come at us. So here's an example of what you just said, is that there are some people who totally don't agree, but they have a lot to lose.
Yeah.
So we personally know people who are in jobs. For example, I'm going to use police services. For example, we know people that are RCMP and that are police, and then we know individuals who work for the government and have got certain structures in there. Anyways, my point is this: they don't agree. They know that it's all bullshit, whatever the story is. That's what their truth is. They're choosing to say, they look at it different. And this is a little bit of MindShui. You're clearing the clutter. So first off, you acknowledge that it's happening, and then you're making a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And the decision is, this is the game I'm playing. This is the field that I'm playing on. These are the rules that I'm having to play by. So if you, in your mind, can kind of gamify it and or go, I'm aware of what's happening. I'm making a conscious choice to, it's like, you and I've done this with teams where you don't have to agree, but you have to align. Remember,
or you can remove yourself. That's the other.
Or you remove yourself.
Option. Yeah.
Or you remove yourself. You have to align. It's, in other words, it's a choice, or you leave.
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't want to agree, that's fine. Make that statement. I don't agree, but I align. And within our teams and within circumstances over the years, we've had that happen. So it's just like, still you don't agree, but you're still going to push the cart. You're still going to do what is needed to be done, even if you don't agree. The point of it is that's a decision. And so as I'm looking at it and as I'm seeing this shit, I can get fired up about the stupidity of our bureaucrats in government. That's one of my biggest buttons. Well, bureaucracy is my biggest button. It just absolutely drives me.
It's been proven to be the biggest waste of any kind of
it is.
funds or time or energy and paper pushing. And I feel bad because the people will, that are in those jobs need those jobs.
100%. But here's the thing about bureaucracy. Bureaucracy begets bureaucracy. Sure. It's generally put in place to create efficiencies. But if you're a bureaucrat and you create an efficiency, you are in fact perhaps putting yourself out of a job. So what happens is more layers of bureaucracy are added. There's never any accountability. And I'm going off on a whole fucking tangent here. So quit it. Okay, my point is this. It is real. How do we handle it? If we're not willing to die on the hill for that issue, if we're not willing to take the stands that so many people have tried to take and or are taking in this kind of new world that we seem to be morphing into, how do we handle it? That's the conversation. It's not, is it conspiracy or not? Is it intentional or not? I think that sometimes I think it can't be intentional. These people are just stupid. That's it. So,
well, not just that. If I can make a comment about that, I think that where I'm hearing you speaking is it's also about a values-based decision. If you're going to bump into something that you cannot live with yourself any longer, if you make this decision, then that's maybe a line in the sand or a line of demarcation that you have to make for yourself. Mm-hmm. I went through it during the pandemic with the athletes going to the 22 Beijing Olympics. 90% of them didn't want to take the jab, but they knew they had to in order to go to the games. The ones that didn't take the jab didn't go to the games. Yeah. So that's a choice they made. Didn't mean their life was over. It just means they didn't go to that games. Yeah. Right. And it was devastating for a lot of us that knew that this is a line of demarcation that many were going to take. And then some of them were able to choose. And here's what I really heard you say, and I don't want to step over this, is when they made the choice, everything got quiet. Mm. They didn't justify it, quantify it, qualify it. They just knew in that moment, I am making this choice for my body, putting this jab in my body so that I can then realize my goal. And when they did that, which was so great, they stopped talking about it. No excuses, no blame,
It
no
was done.
drama.
It cleared. It was clear.
It was clear because it was a choice around their values. But what I was able to do is I was helping them get to that point where they could make a values-based decision.
Mhm.
And when they did, the deal was you made the choice. Nobody forced you to do this. You made a choice in order for you to go to do something you set your heart and your mind to do. And with a sense of love and compassion. And then that clarity just moved everybody forward. And in our case, to the top of the podium, which was thank goodness. And thank goodness nobody's been seriously injured. But at the same time, I think that's just one way of making a decision. But if you're bumping into something and you're arguing with your friends over dinner about who's right and left and this and that, the truth of the matter is that's a delay tactic. Yeah. That's not the truth, because you're fighting about a narrative that is going to stop you from actually going into your values or going and drilling down into what really matters to you, the first principles. And then based on that, can you make a values-based decision or conversation?
This is Stoicism 101. What can you control and what can't you control? At the end of the day, we can't control what's going on in the bureaucracy, the government, those institutions that we have no say in. They don't know who we are. We're a number, we're an algorithm, whatever the case may be. All we can control is how we respond to it and how we carry it. Now, this is something that you and I believe, we both believe it right to our core, is that our internal stress, our internal dialogue is also impacts our physical health. So in other words, the dis-ease of our mind, our emotion that we carry in our body is a big part of the disease that shows up, whether that be constant colds or just sick, or the manifestation physically of what happens with us mentally. So we're both pretty healthy consistently. I don't remember the last time I got a cold. I don't remember the last time you got a cold. It has been years. And we are, even when we do, it gets cleaned up right away, because the first question we ask ourselves is, what's going on for me that I should manifest a physical, like a cold or an illness of some sort. Now, some might think they don't agree, but in our world, we know that we manage our stress well, and we've got lots of it. We've got businesses, we've got staff, we got financial consequences, we got all the same shit everybody else does. It is not about the weight you carry, it's about how you carry the weight. And we're pretty good at managing our stress, even though it's pretty stressful at times. So it's how.
Well, I also know it's not just about, manifesting. We also have the awareness around seasons and toxification and detoxifying of the body. And sometimes just getting a big snotty nose is just a detoxification. You don't have to take a pill for it. You just blow it out, have some soup, manage your stress, maybe go and have a hot bath. Like, there's things that we do that can accelerate the coming out of that detoxification. I don't believe you catch viruses, from someone sneezing. Like, I've done enough work in my studies and at school and in university. I learned a lot about that. So I have my own belief system. Other people won't, they'll disagree. They have a different background in science. So they do believe in viruses and you can catch a cold from other people, etc. That's great. I'm not going to criticize or argue that fact. I'm going to look at the proof in the pudding. Am I healthy? Yes. Can I move through things? Yes. And then you look at it and go, well, if the truth is we're trying to align our mind through MindShui, but think about our central nervous system. If our body is not aligned, any thought or any negativity or anything that we take on in your point about the weight we carry is going to throw off our nervous system. And our nervous system is our core electrical, physical, anatomical operating system. So when I think about it, and when I think about MindShui, not only are we just aligning our thoughts, but we're giving our central nervous system a chance to soften and to align so that we can support, and we don't have that fight or flight or freeze kind of reaction to everything that happens to us. So beyond what you're talking about, I also know that my thoughts will also create the inner environment about how I want to feel. And if I'm going to, this is going to sound bad and we'll probably lose some listeners, but if I need a break, or if somebody will call in sick, then sometimes it's just because they need a day off, or they just need to chill and to do some stress release, etc. And I can honor that. But the truth is, if when it happens over and over and over again, it becomes a habit. And that's where I start to worry about people when they're constantly getting sick and constantly needing that break and constantly needing some kind of disconnect from the day to day. To me, I would love to be able to step in and say, okay, let's have a chat about what's really going on for you. You know, is this a physical thing? Are you manifesting something? Is something going on emotionally? And that's where I've always been called kind of nosy in that. But as a coach, I have a right to do that now.
You have a right?
I do.
Settle down.
My responsibility.
Okay. Settle down. You have the responsibility. You have an agreement with whoever you're talking to. That's more the case. So here's, I think that, this is supported by science, is supported by data. And then on top of it, we've had our own experiences physically and how we are and the health that we have. And we certainly we try and do all the things around eating and how we kind of look after ourselves and supplementation and all the things and training and all the things. My point is that the mental aspect of it, the stress aspect of it, and there is certainly data out there that supports the statement, not my statement, but the statement that 95% of illness is caused by stress. Now that's a data point. That's not me just blowing stuff out. I mean, this is data, and then our own experience of ourselves, but also of witnessing teams and people that we know, et cetera. So we've come to that kind of conclusion, I would say, is a pretty safe way to say that.
Yeah, but also don't step over the fact that there's good stress and then there's not so good stress.
Of course.
So the mindset or the filter that we see our stress or feel our stress through. I mean, I couldn't become an Olympic coach, and you couldn't do what you do if we didn't learn how to harness the stress that comes along with setting really high goals. And that's what the athletes do, is they set really high goals and there's a lot of stress. So how do you reframe that stress, not let it live in your body as, a lot of negativity, doubt, really just hurting yourself with your thoughts. So when you talk about stress, you're also talking about the thought process around your perception of what that stress is.
So yes, to all of that. This goes back to one of the oldest quotes in the book. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And that's just the reality. I mean, we've talked about it many times. There is nothing that you can achieve that is, of upping the bar, of setting a higher benchmark, that isn't going to require that you lean into something, that you bust through that stress, that pressure, the weight, all of it. It's all part of it. That's where growth lives. And we've beat that topic to death many times. So here's the thing about it. We know that from a societal point of view, the divisiveness, the politics, the polarity, the gaslighting, it's hard to sort through it all. As given what I do within the Real Estate Investment Network and the economic kind of research that I have to do, it puts me into environments where there's so much negativity that I literally have to just walk away. I cannot, I go, when I'm looking at some of the sources, and X is a pretty good source in general, but there's other sources where they're public platforms, and there's some great data in there, but by the time you get to what is true and makes sense and is actually valuable to the audience that I'm speaking to, I'm having to sort through a bunch of just depressing negativity, and I can't. I have to walk away. I have to filter that shit really fast. Otherwise, it's depressing. It's like, holy cow, is the world coming to an end? What time is it now? Have I got an hour? It can be that way. So, and that's even having the training and the awareness and all the things that I have. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that don't. They're just kind of even not woke up, or they're waking up, or they're coming to understand that, hold it, something's not right here. So there's a lot of internal stress there. So the point of it is, how do we handle that? And that is stepping back, having that awareness, making some decisions, understanding what can I control, what can't I can control. And what you can't control and what you can control is most important. And that is that you can control your response to what is unfolding. And you can't control government. You can't control bureaucracy. Nobody controls bureaucracy. Not even the government controls their bureaucracy. It just happens. Anyways.
Well, it's human nature, right? It's survival of the of the fittest. If you know your job's at stake, you're going to create another piece of paper or a form that needs 14 signatures. And, if somebody spells your name wrong, then it's wrong. And then it has to go right back to the beginning and you got to wait another 2 years for a permit. So that is what you mean, I think, when bureaucracy begets bureaucracy.
Well, that's the cost of our life is freaking dictated by that often. The cost of business. Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
That's okay. I forgot what I was going to say. I was going to go back to something that you said earlier, is about how do we filter through all of the narratives, all of the noise, all of the negativity, all of the gaslighting, all of the lies that we're being told. Because I heard something the other day, I don't know who it was, but it was so interesting. And they said you could meet somebody and really connect with them. You're sitting there chatting about kids and about the weather and about what you believe in. And all of a sudden they say one word that you disagree with.
Mm-hmm.
And what our society's been trained to do now is to pull that and then judge that person as other. And I went, wow. So we could meet somebody, have the greatest time at a dinner party, and then really opening our hearts and asking what they love to do and all these kinds of things. And then they say, I don't know, Carney, or they say Trump. And then all of a sudden you're like, you've already created a narrative that person is a MAGA Trump supporter, racist, misogynist, whatever. And everything that happened over that last hour dinner party is gone. And that's how we're being set up right now. And I think what I would like to invite people to do, and I'm doing this in my practice now, is when I hear something that maybe goes through a filter that I don't, quote unquote, agree with, I ask the question, oh, interesting. Tell me more. Tell me more. Because when I hear people talk about politics, for example, and what they're afraid of, whether it's tariffs or Trump MAGA or the Ukraine war or the Gaza Strip, Palestine versus Israel, I don't stop there, because I believe people have a deeper sense of what's going on for themselves. Some of them are just parroting the news, which is hilarious, and they have to choose a side. But if we just take a moment and say, tell me more about that. How does that make you feel? What does that mean to you? Then you can get a little bit more connected to the soul and the humanness of the person you're talking to, and not just all of a sudden see them as other, enemy, MAGA, liberal, conservative, racist, right? And those labels are just becoming so locked into the narrative that I just want to make sure that when we're having these conversations is that you can move the needle, move the conversation to the next level where you're not seeing that person as an enemy. We're just all doing the very best we can.
Yeah, I think we're all doing the best we can. From the context of what we're talking about here is all of these things are going on, and how do we support and maybe plant some seeds for people to consider. So for example, I've had occasion where people have, had opinions on Ukraine or Russia or, Israel and Iran. And to be honest, I don't really have an opinion. I don't know the politics and the history of Russia versus Ukraine, for example. I know I certainly have the understanding of what Ukraine has to offer, why Russia wants it, oil, gas, all those things. But, take the politics out of it, take the religion out of it, take all of the beliefs, forget about that. I don't have an opinion. Here's what I do know is there are Ukrainian people and Russian people just like us that are trying to live their lives, raise a family, build businesses, have a meaningful life. And they are at the effect of the political wars and, the politics of war, the money of war. And so I'm not going to get drawn into that. I'm not going to say Russia's bad, Ukraine is good, or vice versa, or Israel is this and Iran is that. I actually don't know. I mean, think about We know Iranians. Like, it's like, okay, they're cool people. And, they're not radical. They're just trying to live their life. The point of it is that we have to really be conscious of what are we defending? What point are we trying to make? Our ego is trying to make us right and have us be right. So do we have an opinion of it? And then I'm just going to kind of finish off on this fundamental, is that on top of all this, Stephanie, is that, when we think about the people and some of the reasons we do these podcasts and why MindShui Way and the work that we're doing, is because while all that is happening, we're still dealing with our own internal shit. Our belief systems, the belief systems we don't even know we have, the operating systems that we've become comfortable with because that's how we were raised. That's the story we're telling ourselves, the misaligned values. So it's a really messy world. And if you want to have that joy, that happiness, the feeling of fulfillment, being on track, stressing yourself, challenging yourself in a impactful or a meaningful way for you, there's a lot to unpack in all of that. And that's kind of the body of work that we're trying to do and trying to introduce in the thought process around it in doing this podcast even. So I'm going to leave it at that. What else you got? Anything else you want to finish up with?
Well, let's end where we started, which is, some of the quotes from George Orwell or Aldous Huxley, for example, Brave New World, Ayn Rand, there's so many. It's almost like history is repeating itself. Mm-hmm. And if we don't learn from history, we're destined to repeat it. So I think for me, I want to be able to be the space to help people move through their inner clutter, to move past the opinions, the narrative, the external forces that are really, I think, designed to oppress our soul and our spirit, and to find a place where, around us, whether it's through our work or people just come out to the compound and hang out for a while or play with the dogs, just find a place where they can get grounded. And I want to be that for my clients. I want to be that for you. I want to be that for our family. And I think if we set an intention, if anything out of this podcast today is that set the intention that we can have a critical thought with everything that's coming into our awareness, step back, look at both sides, see it as holographic. And before you make a judgment, check in with your values. Does it work for you? Does it seem true? Does it make sense? Is it loving? Is it kind? Whatever your filters are, just don't buy into a narrative that you're being fed from anywhere, media, social media, Uncle so-and-so at dinner. Just learn to listen to your truth, and the truth being, and remember, a lie will go around the world twice before the truth even gets out of bed.
That's a good one. But I want to just go back to George Orwell's quote, or the version of it. Okay. The further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those who speak it. But I want to just say something in that regard. The further a society drifts from the truth. So let's put capital T, the capital T truth, the truth. Guess what? It's not the truth. It is your truth. It is somebody else's truth. So we look at the truth, and we have to be a little bit cautious, is that it's actually, and you said it, it's your truth. Are you living into your truth? And that's the key in all of us. The morality aside, religious beliefs aside, the truth is not the truth. It is your truth, however you take it on.
And then if you're offended because someone, misgenders you or calls you the wrong whatever, that's your truth. But the person that maybe did that, that's their truth. And if you're offended by anything right now, check in what you're defending. Check in. You can't be offended if you're not defending something. And if you're defending something that can be looked at, or maybe you can look at it holographically, step back and go, what if I'm wrong? Because I don't believe we're in a society where people are just regular human people, are just out there to hurt each other. I just think we're doing the best we can. Check in where you're offended. Check in where you're feeling made wrong. Because if you're defending your truth and then you want to make other people buy into your truth, that's a whole other podcast.
That's ego. You need to be right. Okay. I knew we were going to go a little long on this one, and we did. Oh gosh, lots to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you, hon. That was fun.